to order the January 21st, 2020 Franklin Township Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm calling you to order at 7 o'clock p.m. In attendance are Supervisors Auerbach, Day, Kirsten Haber, and McVeigh, as well as myself. In attendance is Solicitor Mark Thompson. Hi, Mark. Harb Historical Commission Chairman Paul Lagasse, Township Manager Joan McGraw, and Secretary Sharon Norris. There are a wonderful lot of people in the public, I would say
19.
Oh, thank you. 19 members of the public in attendance. Okay, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. This way. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment, we'd love to hear your comments. It can be related to anything that's any of the items on tonight's agenda. At the end, if you still haven't heard something that you want to talk about, you can talk about it then. It's important to state your name clearly for the tape so that your comments can be reflected accurately. Please state whether you are a township resident or a township taxpayer. Okay, with that, we're going to start out with some kind of ordinary business. And Dave, I'm going to have you start. So to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the December 18th, 2019 version 2 meeting minutes as presented by the Township Secretary. Seconded by?
Mary, second it.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, motion carries 5-0.
Want me to do that?
Sure.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the organizational January 6th minute meetings.
Seconded by?
Seconded by
I'll second it.
Dave.
So in terms of discussion, you just note that we made a slight revision on page 2. We had a date wrong and we had a name wrong, but that's been corrected. So,
Okay. This one.
so we have the latest version. Yeah. Okay. Okay. No big deal.
All of it.
Okay. Have to vote, right? Yeah.
So all in favor? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And motion passes.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay.
5-0.
Okay, I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors adopt Resolution 2020-06 regarding the disposition of records for the Board of Supervisors meeting of December 18, 2019, January 6, 2020, and the Planning Commission meeting of December 5, 2019. Seconded by?
I'll second
Thanks, John. Discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Next one. Make a motion that the board approve the December treasurer's report, which includes the following disbursements. The general fund with disbursements and transfers of $455,877.66. Park and Recreation Fund with disbursements of $750.33. Open Space Fund with disbursements of $6,553.17. Emergency Services Fund with disbursements of $61,073.89, and the Fire Hydrant Fund with disbursements of $580.80, leaving a balance in all funds totaling $566,342.07.
I'll second that, John.
Second by Donna. Any comments, questions on the treasury report?
I don't. Anybody have any?
No.
No, I'm good.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Nancy, want to take the next one? Or?
Done.
So just a report on the December zoning officer's report. There was one permit issued, 21 building inspections, $250 in fees, nothing for the open space or recreation fees, and miscellaneous fees was $100. There's one ongoing zoning issue, and Joan, you just got up there on that.
Well, they were in court today,
Just what the address, yeah.
Yeah, for T. Francisco.
Oh, no, it's
Oh,
tomorrow.
tomorrow, I'm sorry,
Okay.
tomorrow.
This is D. Francisco.
Continued enforcement against the property owner concerning the demolition by neglect
Right.
issue related to the building.
It's tomorrow, the 22nd, on the day ahead.
Yeah, so I just said the public notice, it's not that we're not trying, it just takes a long time to work your way through the court system, so just keep at it. Thanks, Jim.
It's just the key learning is that if a property owner doesn't want to comply, it's pretty hard to make them comply. So you really have to work at it really hard, and this one's really tough.
Do you want, so the, Nancy, next thing's the PC, and we're lucky to have the PC chairman here to give us.
I bring the new year in, right?
Yeah. We'd love an update.
Yeah, the planning commission met on the 9th. We voted on officers, on chairman, Mark Harris as vice chair, and John Zakar as the secretary. Continue to work on the green or alternative energy ordinance, as a new proposed ordinance. It's a lot to work through because of solar and other types of energy are new in the Commonwealth, and some great guidelines, but not a lot of substance from the state. So I think we're getting through the solar part of it, and then some of the other energies are wood and wind. So it's going to take a few months yet, I think.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any comments from the public or questions? Just little pops. Okay, then we have Paul here from the HARB. Paul, can we get an update from you?
Yeah, thank you. The HARB and the Historical Commission had their combined meeting on January 7th. And we elected our officers. The officers of the Historical Commission, President is myself, Chairman is myself, Vice Chairman is Steve Mandich, and the Secretary is Sarah Beth Carpa, who has been Secretary of long-standing. And for the HARB, I was elected Chairman, Nan Radimer was elected Vice Chairman, and Tracy Schreiner, who was also the Secretary for long time, was elected Secretary. There really wasn't a lot other than the election of officers on our agenda. We did talk briefly about 896 roadwork and walkable village for Cumberlandsville, but there's been no progress that we're aware of in terms of finalization of the PennDOT plans along 896, so there was not much to discuss there, except to note that we remain interested in seeing plans and that we're following up. And then we talked briefly about the Churchill Cemetery for those here who are not aware of Churchill Cemetery. It was associated with the Churchill African Church, which is no longer in existence. And it's located near Hilltop and Churchill Roads. It's essentially been overtaken by the woods, and we're in a very slow process of determining whether the property has any existing owners, that if the deed is transferred from the trustees of the church to someone else. We don't think that's the case, but the only way to determine conclusively is to get ourselves up to Westchester and do deed research, which is why we're moving slowly. And if it turns out that there are no current owners and such, then the responsibility for the cemetery falls to the township under PA state law. It would be, basically it would involve light maintenance cleanup, because otherwise it would be thousands of dollars for the cemetery property. So when the time comes, we probably would like to organize some sort of light cleanup, but that's the only direction we're heading. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Paul. And Joan, do we need an update from PennDOT? It seems like it has been a while since we've had anything.
I did hear from them, they had a question, and I answered the question, and so they're working on it.
Okay, so you have no sense of timing?
No.
Yeah.
Well, they were hoping to get started this summer. We'll see if
2020
that-
is the plan.
This was supposed to start in 2017.
Yeah, I know, but the latest hope to start date
Is
was,
this referring to the roundabout?
Yes.
Yeah,
The
the corridor
And
improvements, yeah.
the Chambers Rock left-hand turn?
I don't know whether they're
Well,
doing
that's,
that.
Yeah.
that's,
Doing that.
well, that's in London Township.
right.
Oh, okay.
But,
A
yeah,
lot of work for us is trying to figure out at the elementary school where Appleton goes straight, and 896, how to make that a little safer.
Sure.
Yeah, they did, I talked to them about the crosswalk up by the school.
Okay.
And I talked to him about putting in, the possibility of putting in some type of signal that if a pedestrian wanted to cross there, that they could turn on a flashing light to make the motorists aware that they're crossing. I mean, they're not gonna put in any stop, but something that would flash and notify the motorists that someone was crossing the road. And he thought that was a good idea, and he said, would check on it.
Yeah, and actually, since we have a lot of, I think, cyclists in the room, the more chances we have to cross 896 safely, the better. Right now, it's pretty, I do it, and it's pretty dangerous. And walk, sometimes I just get off the bike and walk. And we have, Ford Farm in Appleton, which is a nice cycling route. And then, of course, Fair Hill is just down the road. So if we can find ways to get across safely, that's a good thing. Yeah. Okay. So Jim, can we get an update on FSA?
Sure. Not a lot of activity since last month's meeting with the supervisors. Just to update the 2019/20 deer season does close this weekend, Saturday at dark. Since last month, 2 additional deer have been harvested. From a community service standpoint, the association did adopt a family in the local school district at Christmas time and provided gifts and other items valued up to $400 we donated out. And the total service hours since July to the end of December was over 150 hours that we donated to the township.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay. All right. So let's move on to business. That was all kind of our business as usual stuff. First of all, we have Shelley here from the library, Shelley Boy, and someone with you.
Sure, we have Lisa Zalata, who is our other Franklin Township representative for the Avon Grove Public Library, and the director of Avon Grove Library is here as well, Lori.
Hi, Lori. Perfect timing.
I'm so sorry I got lost. And I've been here before, I didn't think I would remember, but
Off the
I'm
way.
very sorry. Would you like me to?
If you would like, if you have a moment to.
Sure, absolutely. So, very pleased to be able to be here and talk to all of you today. I brought a few things, and I promise to keep it brief. Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great. Thank you. I'll keep a couple. Yeah, the library in the last few years has been looking at its position in the community. Let me stand back here so I can look at all of you and not, people talking to the backs of people's heads. You'd be facing my back, I should say. Thank you. Okay. So anyway, thank you very much for making room for us on your agenda. I know you've got a lot going on today. I wanted to say that we are looking at our position in the community and what we offer, and we want people to know that we're obviously more than a book warehouse. We have much, much more to offer than just simply the books and the movies and music and magazines that we have on our shelves. We have access to electronic resources, a lot of electronic books and audio books as well, streaming audio books. We have access to databases for research that people can't afford or get access to on their own when they're doing homework or college and university assignments. Through the county library system, we share these electronic resources with them. We have access to Flipster, which is an e-magazine database, so people are starting to read magazines on their devices, which I never thought people would do. It never seemed like appealing to me, but I think maybe not on your phone, but you might like something like that on a tablet. And those are becoming more and more widely used and more popular. We have children's programming, I think, is probably the #1 thing that Avongrove Library has. We're based in West Grove, but we draw people from all over our service area, which is 7 municipalities, including Franklin Township. And we've also just added a partnership with Parksburg Library. We now have Londonderry as well, because we're drawing people from Londonderry too. So I would say, for the benefit of the Board of Supervisors, I have a couple of copies of our 2018 annual report. The 2019 one isn't quite done yet.
Yeah, they got it.
Here we go.
Oh, okay, great, okay. And the one-page sheet, which is about what we do specifically for Franklin Township. Did you get this as well? Okay, you can pass these down, please. Thank you. So,
That is the report, there's something that just happened, it's just about.
yeah, this just deals, mostly the reverse side deals with Franklin Township specifically, but the front side talks about what we're known for best is our children's programming. And out of all of the 18 libraries in the county, including the county library up in Exton, in 2018, we had more children's programs than anyone else. We had more attendance at children's programs. And for a library our size, we're a lot smaller, of course, than the county library, with a much smaller budget. So that's really, for us, that's quite a coup. So that's really what we're best known for, is all of our children's programs. And it's story times. We have story times. We have a bilingual story time. We have story times out in the community at places like the Big Yellow Mug, which is a partnership with a local organization, and Pets and Friends, which is a local pet store. We have a cat, there's one at the Kitty Cafe, Cat Rescue in Kennett Square. So we have lots of story times all around. And we're also doing more, though, with other kinds of programs, including crafts, seasonal programs, and things that draw families and kids of all ages on the weekends as well as in weekdays. We're starting to do more with homeschooling families, because for homeschoolers, their local public library is usually their best resource for their research and so forth. So really, I would say that our children's programs are where we really stand out. We're also a community center. We see a lot of tutors come in and tutor these, with students and work after school hours. We have a lot of people who come in and bring a laptop and work on things for either their, just for relaxation or for their home business or whatever it may be. We have access to great resources, as I said, the databases and so forth for local business people, people who are searching for jobs, people who are looking to improve their health or research genealogy. We have Ancestry.com through the library. So people have access to all of these things for free at the point of service. Of course, that means that we were supported by your tax dollars and by donations in the background, so to speak. But I wanted you to know what we are doing. And as far as Franklin Township goes, now I don't, again, have all the 2019 figures, but in 2018 we had 829 of your residents that named our library their home library out of all the libraries in the county. And that's about a little over 10% of our card holders are from Franklin Township. And if you look at that figure then across the board, then as of 2018, they attended our story times or programs over 3,000 times. They used our free public PCs or Wi-Fi access over 2,600 hours. And they borrowed over 14,800 items from us. So we share collections with all of the other libraries in the county. We have a daily van delivery that comes around. So we can borrow anything from any other library. And while the Avongrove Library concentrates largely on more popular materials, but Chester County Library up in Exton has a lot of the more scholarly or esoteric kinds of titles that people might be interested in. And so we get requests to have them sent down quite often. But it's nice because then you can just go to Avongrove and you don't have to drive all the way up to Exton. Which
I'm a big fan of the library, I think we
Oh,
all
that's
are
great.
here. And I see that last year we invested $5 per resident, or capita, I assume capita.
per capita they call it,
Whatever
yeah.
that is. And I'm guessing you're seeking that same amount this year?
Yeah, $5 per capita is what we always aim for with all of our municipalities, because when we get that level of support, it qualifies us for a state, what's it called again, the state excellence? There's something, it's like a state excellence in libraries initiative, that if you have that certain level of support from your municipalities, you qualify for more additional funding, which is really great. So,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, and I was gonna say, that's the reason we asked for that particular amount, it wasn't just pulled out of thin air.
Right, okay.
But yeah, we do appreciate your support very much. It's been, for the last several years, it's been pretty high, and especially compared to a few of the other municipalities in our area, which is wonderful. And I want to say I have a gift for all of you, if any of you are interested in having a library card of your own. I know a couple of you do. But we looked into just getting the forms and putting your names and the contact information that we have for you through your township website. So if you're interested, you can finish filling out the forms and I'll be happy to process. John Auerbach, are you and Dee, Donna Dee,
Thank you.
and Vicky David, Kirsten,
That meeting?
Kirsten Hubbard, Kirsten Haber.
Both works.
That's-
Depending on what part of the globe you're on.
With a name like Schwabibauer, I try to, not my first language by any means, but I can pronounce it at least. Mary McBee?
Yes, thank you.
And
I
Joe?
have one.
Okay, and you've got one, of course, yes. And, I don't think we had, if Jeffrey Eastburn came,
Well, he's not in those with Joan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, pass that on
Or
down.
the public might.
Jeff Nobles, I knew there was some,
That's who's, that's the
zoning.
20,
Oh, well, just read it. I knew there were some zoning related
Yeah.
things on the
Yeah.
agenda, so I was thinking you might be here. Anyway, so yeah, and if you decide after the meeting that I'll be staying, and if you want to fill this out, I can give you a library card tonight. So, the other things I wanted to mention, and I'll mention it to all of you, of course, is that we have a service through the county library, mail order delivery. So if you know anyone who's homebound and would like library materials, you can get them mailed to you for free. So that's a really great service for anybody who's convalescing or just happens to be homebound for any other reason. And I'm going to leave these brochures in the back. And also, finally, we have, I did mention the ebooks and the electronic books. The app is called Libby. It now works with Kindles as well as on Apples and, what are the other? What's that off-brand phone? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you can download the Libby app and it's very easy to use. So if you have a library card and the Libby app, you can get electronic books for free through your county library, which is really great. And I use them a lot. Never thought I would like to read books on my phone, but I actually do that now. Still like paper better though. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Did you want to add anything, Shelley or Lisa?
No, I did just want to say that I asked Lori specifically because in the past you all mentioned about ebooks and why would anyone go to the library because you can read online, and so we wanted to give you at least a little pamphlet about how you can access Libby and do that yourself. And I'm glad we have such a great audience here who does take advantage of the library already, but that's why we wanted to give you a little more info and wanted to make sure that anyone who doesn't have a library card definitely gets one.
And I did think to bring a lot of extra forms. I didn't realize the meeting would be so populated. But you can see me if you're interested in getting a library card.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think, does everyone agree to continue to support the $5 for capital?
Well, I think we need to talk about that because it's more than what we spoke before.
No, it's the same amount.
No, it's not, because the cap is more, there's more people.
There's more people.
Right, so it's about $4,000.
What I've done in the budget, I've used the population from our last census.
Okay.
That's the amount that I multiply by $5. So,
Okay.
you know, when we get the 2020 census, we can,
Sounds
it's up to you.
Yeah. Do you need us to decide now, or can we wait until we get the census numbers?
Well, the budget's already done for this year.
Right, based on
So this is done then?
Yeah,
So
we'll
we're
be
good.
next year.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, normally we would have met with you earlier last year, but we had a couple things.
No problem.
But we did $5 based on the old census.
Right.
That's fine.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next, I don't know if we're, I'm already finished. Maybe you want to take the next one, the motion?
Sure. So I make a motion that the board permit Matt Thompson and the Velo Amis organization to build youth bicycle trails in Crossan Park and Franklin Preserve with the intent of allowing all members of the public to have access to these trails. Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
Is that me?
You're on.
All right. You want me to come up front there, I guess, same spot? All right. So, I am Matt Thompson. I am part of Velo Me. It's actually a me. That's all right. It took me a while to figure out. Yeah, so I'm also involved with the Sochesco Hellbenders, so maybe you guys can stand up. So it's a local group. It was started by Michael and Greg Shriver, Michael Morrell. They compete in, it's called NICA, which is the National Interscholastic Cycling Association. They compete in pickle, which is governed by NICA, which is the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Cycling League. Basically what we do, it's a race series that spans from this side of PA to Pittsburgh. It's like a 5-race series. And it's middle school, high schoolers. They compete on this team, they earn points for their team. And also part of that is they get team points for doing community work, i.e. trail maintenance. We do a lot of our training rides at Fair Hill. We did do one ride out of Crossings. It was a good spot because the kids can't get that far from you. We did it kind of as a training spot. But with what's there, my thought was maybe we could expand on what's there. So, everybody see this? So this is kind of what's, the red and black trails are what are currently existing in the park.
And those are paved.
Some of them are paved. The red and black are actually the paved. These lower ones, the red ones, are in the woods. Some of this lower stuff is really low and really wet, and it's most of the time of year it's kind of unusable.
These are just trails based on usage, like some through them.
No, they're mowed periodically. They're pretty wide.
The red line.
Yes, the red lines. So I went out and walked with the help of Lori Weber. She is involved with Velo Me as well. And I should say, Velo Me, we've done the gravel grade crusher out of Paradox for the last couple of years. It kind of takes in some of the local gravel roads in the area, and we use it as a fundraiser, which I can get to later. So with the help of Lori and Dave Bartu, who works for the state of Delaware, he's the head of Trail Plan. He walked it with us, he came up with the map, but this is just kind of a rough guideline of what we were thinking. I originally came into it thinking this is all you had. I got goosebumps when they told me you guys had this too, because this was like all untapped. Sorry, I don't mean it. So I guess my thought is, because these kids need to get these points towards, working on these trails, it can help better the community. It's something they can take ownership in. I think it's a good opportunity, and like you said, this would be, I'm not just creating this, or we're not just creating this for mountain bikers, it's for everybody. But, with this, it really makes, I think we came up with about 4 miles of trails in there, which really kind of changes the dynamic of that park, I think. When I originally sent an email, you allow baseball teams to come into practice, you allow soccer teams to come into practice.
this is no different. It's youth sports, and they will take ownership of it, so.
If I could add to that.
Yep, absolutely.
One of the reasons we started this youth mountain bike team was to get more kids on bikes, get kids outside, and besides competitive student athlete environment, fostering stewardship is really important as a value add. Greg's an ornithologist at the University of Delaware. My wife's an entomologist at the University of Delaware. We have a tremendous respect and honor for natural systems. And one of the things about mountain biking that I've loved since I was these kids' age is being able to get out in the wilds. And it's just not happening as much. And this is something that's, I think, super important to foster in our young people and our student athletes. Beyond the competitiveness of being a kid and competing in an athletic environment, to have more than that, to be to focus on sustainability and stewardship, right? And I think that's why we have open spaces. I think that's why townships create open spaces, is because it's a value for our communities. And I think that what Matt and Bellamy and we're here to do is to say that as community members we're all in, and I think serving our community is tremendous value for these kids.
Yeah, no, that was very well put. I didn't even see Paul back there hiding in the corner.
Snuck in.
Some of that as well, what you said you had access somewhere up in this area too, years ago was granted. So some of that thought is, my vision is, if I could ride my bike from my back door to Fair Hill and never hit a road, I'd die a very happy man, right? That's I don't know where I'm gonna find all this time with three boys that play ice hockey and lacrosse and mountain bike, whatever. But maybe I won't sleep. But it just that's my ultimate goal. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in this area. I grew up in this area, so that's the more outdoor biking, woods, anything I can do, I'll be happy. So anyway.
So, yeah, so anyone, you guys want to share anything yourselves, or any other comments?
Any of our student athletes want to add to that?
Come on, Ryan. Say something, Ryan.
They're leaving there.
You're hanging me out to dry.
Yeah. Well, I will just put my 2 cents in, which is I happen to love biking. I bike at Fair Hill a lot. I don't do the trails you guys do, and I'm sure you've passed me or I've been stuck. You had to go around me. But despite that, and I did the Granville Crusher, which was so much fun. But despite that, despite the fact that it's biking or not biking, I think every park, every parkland that we purchase requires our township to kick in, everybody in the township. And so I think it's important for township residents to have access to land, to walk in. And I've tried to walk in Franklin Preserve, and it's a nightmare. You get covered in ticks, you've got to clear your own path. It's not something that I think really enhances the money we spent on that. So from my personal opinion, I think it's a wonderful use of that park. We're not talking about having thousands of people come in,
Nope.
but a nice trail. And I'm with you, if I could bike ride from, which I now almost can, from my house to Fair Hill, I do it, thanks to Ford Farm and thanks to other places that people have kicked in. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know if anyone else has any comments or concerns.
I just got some questions about how you're going to construct it. What's the width? I'll tell you where my primary concern is going to be is stormwater and erosion from disturbing the soil. So that's where.
Yep. So in
Not
Walker,
that you can't do it, but you may need to harden up some areas.
you might. And I think that's going to be something that kind of evolves with the project. I can't go in there and tell you right off the bat that it's going to erode right here.
Yeah.
But as the project evolves, there are some, up towards the.
Yeah, you're into some contours that could generate some issues.
Well,
A lot of
this
is going on in the contour.
This is, but so in working with David Bartu, through the field, this is why he kind of follows this grade. You want like a 2% grade through the field, that way you don't get any runoff. You are following the contour, that way runoff isn't an
Do
issue.
you know who Bartu is? Have you heard that name before?
No.
Bartu, so maybe you tell him.
Lori, you might know better. I mean,
How to describe who he is.
he's the reason that,
He's the trail planner for the state of Delaware, so all the trails, all the mountain bike trails in White Clay Creek and, I mean, throughout the state, but in White Clay Creek, in particular, there's a lot of areas where, like you said, those areas, they've hardened the surface to maintain those trails better, and there's now, probably 3 to 5 miles of actually accessible trail in White Clay, and that's all David's design, and that allows handicap accessible access to actual trails out there by
How wide are
hardening
the
that
trails they're looking at
surface.
making?
They're 3 foot wide.
yeah, I mean, 3 foot would be about the
Standard.
biggest. So in some areas, I printed this out. I refer to it as like a dingo, it's like a little stand-on.
And I will just say, at Fairhill and anywhere I go, they're not 10 feet wide or 8 feet wide.
No.
These are
They're
biking and
fast.
It's just like mountain biking, trail running.
Yeah, we don't want wide trails.
No.
I mean, there's wide trails in here.
There's wide
that
trails.
would,
And then basically what's walked on is about 2 feet wide.
Exactly.
But
It doesn't
it's-
need to be wide.
No.
It's made, with the
So
ditch
this-
ditch, it's a
less-
3 foot wide, trail, is the
Yeah.
standard.
I see a lot
Less
of bike
disturbance,
trails
the
at
better.
8 to 10 feet wide.
Well, those are paved bike
That's
paths.
correct, paved.
Gravel and pavement.
Those are all,
Multi-
Mountain bike are different.
Mountain bike, you want it
it's a 3 foot.
tighter or narrower is more fun.
It's a 3 foot
Yeah.
grade.
And actually, a lot of the trails in Fairhill, they just say no horses because it's so narrow.
They do that. They purposely kind of create some trails in there to, they keep some low branches just to keep the horses off. And then, the horses have trails that we don't want
Yes.
to be on. They've tried to make it work.
That's right.
We have done a number of hours, trail tour hours with Fairhill Park Service to help. So, it's a consulting process, and again, stewardship is the core of the.
That's the next question, I'll ask you about maintenance, but,
Right,
I guess first off, who's gonna construct it? Who's gonna actually do the work?
right.
Who's gonna do the grunt work?
Yeah, that's us.
This guy that just told me he's never
It's not a minor effort, what
So,
you
would
No.
you come to us with a plan? Because first of all, I want to say, I think it's a great idea, so don't,
Yeah.
and I'm glad the kids are excited to hear. But I do worry about, is there a plan? So will you come to us with a plan, say you looked at the
Yeah, I
ground?
mean,
This is where we gotta harden it, this is where we.
Yeah, I mean, but I think
we can
that's-
Do whatever so just so we don't need, like, say go.
Right,
But we have a plan,
Yeah.
so we know what you're building in.
yeah,
Well, is this the plan?
that's kind of the
So,
plan.
what
So
more-
this is,
I want to know, I would want a thorough discussion of, you go through the
What
area.
materials,
And,
what-
yeah, and where do you need to harden, where do you think it's gonna be fine, like, where do you need to cut trees, where, a description of the
Well, I'm
kind
not-
Trees aren't gonna get.
I'm not cutting trees. I might cut down multiflora rose,
Okay, so.
Russian
Invasive.
olive, all this invasive stuff.
Get a sense of what vegetation has to be. Oh, and it does come from the water perspective, we have the MS4 beat into our heads that we have to, as you said, you're a steward, right? You wanna make sure that we don't have increased runoff and that we're not causing any harm, you want it to be good, and it sounds like that's what you want, so we can work
Absolutely.
together on that.
Yep.
So that's why, yeah, I want more just a picture, I want a discussion of this is, we looked at this and this is what we've seen here, and take us through it step by step.
Well, let's agree not to have an endless process, because this isn't that
Yeah,
complicated.
because
Let's not
it can be like
overcomplicate
phased,
it.
I mean, that was kind of the idea.
Yeah.
This is, with David, that was like walking through, that was the, this is what you could do in this existing property.
Yeah.
And then, like Matt says, there's existing trail, simple things could be done just to, there's an existing trail that comes onto a bridge that takes a 180 degree turn that you can just
That's kind
do a
of.
little bit, there's a section you can just do 20 feet of
And you can break
rerouting.
that up and tell us, because
Yeah,
we have,
so-
we have architects that are on our planning commission, and you guys could take your plan, bring it to them, And then, like I said, not to drag us out, but these guys are smart.
Well, I think keeping it simple is a big thing for me. And so we are not splitting atoms here, okay? We're putting trails in the woods. We're not cutting trees down. So if there are
We also
issues,
have-
and Donna, you might want to go out there with them. That might be a really good way to
We could all go together, yes.
I'm very comfortable.
I would love to, I'll go out there and walk it
Yeah, why don't we just
anytime
do
you want.
that? And then
And I will
that
show
takes an
you,
hour of your
but
time, and then
For
we're
me to
done.
say that this is a problem, like, I think that's, again, I think we're kind of, I think you need to get the structure in there, and then, once you get that in there, then, you know, it's gonna be somebody like myself, or these kids are gonna, that's the whole idea. These guys, I want them to kind of take ownership of this, and this is gonna be.
If I could ask, who designs and maintains the trails that are currently out there?
Right.
All Overton.
How's that going?
Great.
Yeah?
Give you some help, I'm sure.
I mean, who, just you?
I'm excited. You guys bring your shovels?
Yeah.
Himself for 15 years.
I think that's a valid point.
I think all we're really here to say is that we're happy to help.
Yep.
Like, we want to serve our community, and we want to do it in a way that honors stewardship
We really appreciate
in
that.
the natural world.
I think it's a tremendous opportunity to do something. The only concern I got is the stormwater issue.
Yeah, we're not coming in with asphalt, we're not gonna.
Nope.
Well, do you have a comment on
John,
stormwater?
what's the limit on earth disturbance for grading permit?
For just a simple grading,
Yeah, what square footage of earth disturbance
well, any
triggers?
earth disturbance, an individual would need a grading permit, which is a minimal. Once you get over an acre of disturbance, then of bare ground disturbance, then you can.
How much ground do you think we're roughing up here?
So John, I don't think we necessarily have to disturb the earth to cut all the trails, right? You're just clearing brush in most
Yeah.
cases.
Well, I mean, look at this picture right here.
So we're not,
serious
That's pretty
surface.
dramatic,
That's
so
pretty
really,
serious surface.
the only place that would occur is this section of trail right here, because this is so steep. The rest of it, there's nothing that steep in there that you're going against. There's just, I mean, this is, that's got some drop to it, I mean, you can see it in the, sorry.
Okay, now ongoing, who's gonna maintain it? Who's-
The bike team.
Okay, because right now we don't have any. Well,
we also don't have a Parker Rec.
the Ford Farm Trail is well maintained by a whole group of people over there.
I would hope maybe the community too might say, wow, these are awesome trails, I like running
We
here.
have not had a good success getting volunteers to go into the rough areas for a long time.
I think that's a valid point, John. I mean, the Ford Farm, the trail there, I know it's not utilized a lot. I'm one of the key maintainers.
Yeah.
You know, the scouts put it together and then dumped it on the township to maintain it.
We even had the
Or in
motor.
Banishire, there's been issues with maintaining that. It's overgrown, problems. That's a trail that, I know you use it a lot because you live right there, but it's not overused trail. As a taxpayer who's been paying taxes X amount of years, I've been in the township 18 years, and money going towards preserved open space, and now we're saying, oh, well, we're gonna start constructing on this preserved open space. I got a little heartburn over that, but see, I'm a scout or two, hey, leave no trace. Other areas, just comments, and I'm just being the killjoy here tonight. So look at look at the trail, and I know those woods a lot. The grades, there's some creeks that you're crossing, so there's, I'm saying steep, and it's, you know, a foot drop off, but it's a steep drop off. There's wetlands, so I think there's other environmental things to think about. You know, are there bobber turtles down there? Again, we had talked about in previous township meetings, the sediment, if we're crossing the creek, I don't know if you're running through the creek or building bridges
I
or
prefer
what.
to build a bridge.
But it's just things like that, and ultimately, who's going to maintain it? You know, because Ford's not maintained, the township's left to maintain Banishire now, the trails through there.
the township doesn't maintain the trails.
Well, we do some work there, they pick up the trash.
And mainly.
The township doesn't maintain it.
Yeah, right, and it's been thrown back I know you do some work in there and some other volunteers.
I deal with volunteers.
That's the biggest thing, long-term, how's it going to maintain?
So Jim, my 2 cents is that, honestly, I think the next topic I'd love for you guys to say is about Park Recs and Open Space Committee. I think we do need people who look at who take things seriously, look at our amazing resources and make sure we do maintain trails. Worst case, if nobody uses the trails, they go into nature. That's not the end of the world. So to me, that's not a showstopper. I hope that doesn't happen. Because of people like Paul, they maintain the trails. Dick Whipple and others who keep those things cut. That's my 2 cents. Paul, any comment you want to put towards that?
Yeah, two comments back for John's stormwater. So it's a good concern for stormwater, but I would argue that whoever built the original trails in Crossing Park did a really poor job. And so this guy is going to... What's that?
I don't doubt that at all.
Right, so anybody who comes in and improves those trails is going to reduce our stormwater runoff. So you should be thanking him and tell him to hurry the hell up, right?
Hold on a second, I want to make sure you get my answer.
But I want you to know this.
I'm not finished.
Wait, let me finish. Yeah.
Let's take.
So we're gonna improve stormwater off of Crossing, and then this guy's bringing in the trail expert from Delaware, and we're gonna challenge him. He knows how to build trails, how to slope them, how to improve grade, how to prevent runoff and erosion. So do I from doing the trails in all the other places. So with their expertise, we have the consultant to come in, we've got it covered. I'm not too worried about it. We don't have to do a lot of cutting because these aren't great slopes we're trying to cut across here. These aren't the Rocky Mountains, right? This is Crossing. So stormwater to me is not an issue. You can have your consultant come look at it and decide whether they've done it well afterward, but it'll be an improvement from what we have down there.
I guess not to sound too, not to try and argue with you too much, but when you say an architect's gonna come in and look at it, compared to Dave Bartu, who's done this stuff, he's built how many miles of trails?
We have technical people on our planning commission that are more than capable of managing.
Okay,
I think it's a difference of like having a road construction crew put in a bike path versus a company that focuses on actual trail. It's a very different perspective that you see, and that's where you end up with those 8 and 10 foot
The stormwater issue is, once you change the water flow from sheet flow and it starts to channelize, you gotta do something.
But it
just continue to
so,
Yeah, that's
like, if your biggest area of concern is through that meadow,
Right.
if you're talking a 2-3 foot wide trail, in how many acres is that field? 10 acres. It's not even making it down to the stream.
Okay, another comment from the public, and then and then assuming there's no further comments, we're gonna vote today on whether we support it. And then, obviously, if people want to know more about how it's gonna happen, we can do that. Yes?
Ron Fanlip, I'm a resident of Franklin Township. So, last year, the township had a number of meetings where it was being discussed that the county, through the MS4 program, was going to make the township do something about the sediment that runs out of our township. So, with that, there was a number of improvements that could be made, and some of the improvements were extremely expensive, and the cheapest one was actually through Franklin Preserve, which was the stream. And I looked at the map, and you have 2 crossings in that stream right now without bridges. So my question is if we have to do something about the MS4, and it's going to cost a couple $100,000 to get it done, how does this impact our plans to do that there? Because I remember like the next thing beyond that was like $500,000, and the township's entire budget isn't very big, and I don't know that we can absorb that.
So Brett, I think where we landed, and Joan is really the expert, is we got away from planting a lot of trees on the stream beds because it's a very expensive and not terribly successful approach. So I think actually Paul helped us find some ideas where there's open space where we can plant trees. And Joan, I think our cost was going way down from I don't know that Franklin Preserve is a big risk there.
We decided that stream restoration is not the best way to go because it could be washed out with one big storm and you've lost everything you did. So we're gonna work on reforestation, planting trees, and it's much cheaper. If we can get some trees donated to us, we're talking maybe $50,000 over the next 5 years.
Right.
If they ever approve our permit.
It's no longer, it's a great point, but it's no longer the concern it was. That said, it's important to have as little disturbance as possible. So bridges are great, and, we'll go from there.
So just to the worst part is this crossing here, which would require a stream. There's really no water running up here. I think it's more of a spring down in this area where the crossing up here is just through a little, it's more where the water's coming down through from here down.
And to be honest, we have a park called Vanisher, which has had no bridge for how long?
Yeah.
And we're finally doing it. So it's not like we're like the best examples of
Yeah, no, finance
trying
too.
to,
How long do you think it's gonna take you to do this? Do you have a sense, or you said it's like, it's a stage kind of thing, like a little piece at a time, or?
I really don't, so just from walking it, I think this would be pretty simple to get this through here. There's not a lot of clearing, it's just a matter of delineating the field crossing. This area down in here, it's older growth, so there's not a lot of undergrowth. So, that's a matter of going in and just marking it with flags, and then all these guys just grab a rake and we just rake it, and here's your trail. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about major. Some of this, if we were to come up in, now, here again too, this is just kind of a suggested route. Obviously, if I'm walking here and there's a big old oak tree there, I'm gonna go around it. I'm not, that's where he said, I'm going through it, right? So, some of these fringe areas, there's multiflora in there, there's Russian olive, and it's gonna take a while to chop through it. I get it, but, I've done lawn care landscaping since way too long, since high school, so 20+ years. I have access to equipment, chainsaws, weed eaters, blades, you name it. So a lot of the heavier, more dangerous, quote unquote, with a weed eater and chainsaw is gonna be me.
Right.
And then the kids would come up and, clean it up. So I'm pretty good with a weed eater, I can move along pretty well, so, I can't tell you. I would like to say I could have a lot of it done,
In a season, like I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay, both our Daves have comments. Let's start here.
I just want, and our history is a concern and we have to learn by it. And one with the Boy Scout, it's a project for one Boy Scout. This is an organization, like they stated, the Hellbenders are part of Pickle and NICA, that you have to get some of your points by doing. So when these guys grow up, they go to college, hopefully they'll come back and coach when the coaches are riding e-bikes and everything.
That might be nice to
You're committing to an organization versus one scout with one project. And Bellamy worked with them, as you know, from Paradox for several years. And both organizations back up what they're saying. It's a little different, and we know we have to have our concern from our past. And yes, the original paths were, here's a plot, let's make a path around here. Nobody walked out there and designed those original paths.
Well, I think the fact it's not being cut makes me feel better,
Look at a plan and put the paths down on there. So it's a little different.
And David, if I can add, I'm Bill Maley, I'm another hellbender here from the other township though, but I don't think anybody's mentioned, but this is the first year of the hellbenders, so the team is only gonna grow the way I see it, so as far as looking at future maintenance and all that, I don't think that's gonna be an issue. I think these guys are around for a while.
One of the few sports that's growing.
Yeah.
If I could add,
Crazy.
we started with the reason that, the heart of our organization, is more than the athletics and involves sustainability. the hellbender is the Pennsylvania state amphibian. It's endangered. It's an integral part of why, that's why we chose it. It's an indicator species for clean streams. So when we're talking creeks, we're hearing that. That's a part of our DNA. Like, we're not trying to just rip through our natural environment and you said leave no trace. And I've been doing that since I was, real little. So trust me when I say, that's what I want to impart to my children, you know what I mean? I don't want them just on their devices all the time and then not be connected to the natural world. And to me, this is a great way to get our kids connected to the outside world, because they have to be out there to do these things, And we could just leave it all alone and just not go there and it's protected. But I think that we're designed literally to be an integral part of that. I think we're part of the solution.
Yeah, I think I'm in support of this, and I think that one of the key questions that came in with, and you answered, was whether or not you were tied in with someone like Bartu, who knows his trails and knows how to do these things. So I'm pretty excited about that. And you mentioned the cost to the township. Well, the township doesn't really pay very much to maintain the trails it has now, so you're not going to be out anything. And
yeah, I am, because I maintain the trail on Ford Farm. So
Well,
that's your choice.
right, and
You
if
can
I
choose
were
not
to do
to.
it, then the township would once again have to start cutting it, because
No, it would just grow.
It would just grow, because currently there's no
It would grow
budget to
weeds.
cut that trail. So I think that's great, and it's low risk, as you pointed out.
We were mowing.
So you
and
were,
it's
Wait a
also,
second
Jim,
here.
it's also,
so
well,
the
Jim,
other
it's
point is
also
that
something you do as a benefit for hunting for
Right.
food.
I do, because I walk the trail too.
Yeah, well, great, it's a give and take, okay.
and it's a low risk because, as you pointed out, if no one uses it and no one maintains it, the multiflora roses come back and we're back to where we were. We're not paving anything, we're not digging up too much stuff, so I don't really see any downside as long as we're not causing an erosion impact. And if we're putting a bridge over any major water, I don't see why we would. I guess the question is really, if we can get to a point where there is a major problem, how are we going to identify it and who do we call in to fix it, right? And is this someone like Mr. Bartu, who goes through and says, okay, this trail makes sense, or how, what's your, your, oh, whoops, we made a mistake.
Yep.
Indicator.
Yep. No, and that's,
David said he's in with it.
Yeah, that's great.
He's committed to us and our organization and doing this. And
Yeah, I feel like it's a low risk. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll vote, just one last
Yeah,
comment.
let's still
Oh, okay. One comment here. Last year, the Great Gravel Crusher, I can't say your organization, Velo, but the next day I went, how do you say it? The next day I went and biked the entire thing again. There was not one piece of trash. I could not believe it. I've never seen anything like it. Okay.
Maybe there. It might have been there.
My recommendation is we let the PC look at it. Just to let
I
it
would
go
not
on.
like to do that. I don't agree
Because
with
the
that.
PC has got technical expertise, we have civil engineer, we have an architect, we have other people who have been on the planning commission for a long time.
But how much does that cost?
nothing.
Nothing.
It's just-
We don't
it's
pay.
just that
We
it's,
don't- we don't pay them, but just delay it by one meeting.
I don't agree, but you can vote nay if that's how you feel. We
I
get
don't
into
wanna vote no,
analysis
but
of
because I
paralysis
support the
here.
project.
So,
I
Chris,
believe that you'd be safer if you had somebody
You
from a
run the
technical standpoint.
PC, how do you feel about it? Do you need to go to the, do you need to go to
I'm
the?
the chairman of the PC, we haven't had this brought to our meeting, so I can't really answer the PC, other than I know two of us are in favor of the project.
Okay, I think we're
Which
about
one's the
to,
architect?
so I think it has taken us months and months
It wasn't
to get
the longest
certain things
tenure.
done. No, it is, I just
I
believe
don't
we have to
see-
move
I don't see
faster.
the- I don't
This
see
is
the
not a
rush.
big risk. This is
I
not a
would
big
delay
risk.
it 1 month, let the PC look at it, make a recommendation, bring it back to the board.
I don't agree. Let's take a vote and we'll just see how people do it, okay?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
So with the bridges, how are they gonna be designed and how are they gonna be designed with safety?
First,
in mind?
when you say bridges, we're talking probably one bridge. So let's just, so there's
Okay.
maybe one bridge. And
How is it, my question is, how is it gonna be designed? Who's gonna review the plans? Who's gonna look at it for
Dave
safety?
Bartu.
Again,
Dave
David,
Bartu.
there are.
Who built the one bridge
The
that's out
bridges
there
are,
already?
yeah, what, how about the bridge
There's,
that's
right now,
out
there's,
there?
right now, there's a trail that comes down this very steep
that?
Is he
grade.
a licensed engineer?
I think it was
He works for the
State
state
of
of
Delaware
Delaware and
is-
designs all the trails for the state of
all
Delaware.
the trails, all the bridges, all the.
Okay,
He consults into White Clay Preserve, they just did the Charles Bailey Trail, the Tri-State Trail. He helps in Fair Hill.
I don't think you're gonna find
You're
somebody
not
more
gonna find another
qualified when
person.
it comes to
Well, I
building
think a
trails.
licensed engineer would be more qualified.
So, there's a bridge that's
It'll
out
cost
there,
us more.
there's a bridge that's on the property right now. Have you been out there recently?
Yes.
So there's this super steep trail that comes down, and at the very bottom of that super steep trail, there's a turn that's almost 90 degrees.
Maybe more.
And then it goes across, this very overbuilt bridge. Who built that? Do we know who built
Is
that?
this it? It's in Cross, and
It's in Cross.
it's marked
I
here.
didn't say they're well
So it's
designed.
When you build a bridge, just review it with us. How about that?
Yep.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Wait, tell me what we're voting for, please.
Well, it says
To
no.
permit Matt Thompson and Bello ME organization to build youth bicycle trails in Crossan Park and Franklin Preserve with the intent of allowing all members of the public to have access to these trails. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'll say aye, with the caveat that I want the PC to have some look at it. So I'm gonna give it a yes vote, but I'm concerned about stormwater, and I think we're gonna probably monitor the project.
For sure.
We don't have any issues.
It's a wonderful job, so we got the.
We've got a great group of people with a lot of
I even
energy
look at
here,
a
right?
park and rec committee that'll be able to do it. That's the real way to go, but for now, that's fine.
Planning commission is your expertise. You got a civil engineer who works stormwater on there already, so you can't get any better than that.
You gotta agree with it, so we get the 5-0. Good.
All right, thank you.
I want to comment before they go is, I would like to work with Matt to try to connect his trails with the comprehensive plan trails where we have a master layout for through trails. Because we want to make sure we're accommodating them that may hopefully come in the future, right? So I want to help make those connections with Matt.
Yeah, absolutely, we'd love for you to do that.
So my question, you
We approved you, go ahead.
approved, so I could walk there right now and start cutting trails.
Get to work right now.
Rock on, thank
And
you.
I will say, we have never had, as long as I've been on the board, which is only 2 years, I've never had so many great
This was-
enthusiasm and excitement about something.
This was also part of it. I wanted these guys to see, this is how local government works. This is what you do. People used to do this probably, right? They don't do it anymore.
You're right, because usually nobody here.
Right. So this was part of the plan. I wanted them to see how this worked.
And someday when you guys are old, you'll have to become supervisors. All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
You can stay if you want, if you've got homework, you don't have
Thank you very much.
to. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Joan, I guess next is.
I guess I'll be in touch probably. Thanks.
Talk about the-
Paul, I'll be in touch with you too. Thanks.
Nice job.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be in touch with you.
All right, so next, guys, is the Parking and Rec Open Space Committee. Joan was kind enough to find, and Mark, kind enough to find a ordinance from another township about creating a park and recreation board. And it's a park, open space, and recreation board. My vision is that we have individuals from the community who care about the parks, who want to see a cohesive approach to our parks, and who also are interested in our open space. We can take a somewhat strategic approach going forward. So Joan and Mark, it sounds as if we can take that group, that committee, could take responsibility for the open space implications as well as the park. They can't vote on, they can't spend money on open space acquisitions, but they can certainly make recommendations. They can look at criteria. They can help the township decide what might be the most important criteria when we're considering open space acquisitions or ag easements. And so that's my thought, is that we don't really have anyone right now who does. And I feel that's a missing link in our community.
Yeah, I like the idea because, you know, one of the things that we are missing is, and especially with like the discussion today and with John's concerns, is having having a group of people who are actually involved in our open space and our trails, kind of, who are, you know, part of their DNA being part of this, can answer some of our questions. And help us rationalize Matt was mentioning the dream of walking out your back door and being able to ride your bike to Fair Hill would be fantastic if we had this sort of rationalized trail system all throughout Franklin Township. And I don't think any of us here have the time, maybe not the energy to go and do that and see that, and having a Parks and Rec board who's that's their job would be a great thing to have.
Yeah, my other aspect, I think it would be covered by this, is the park itself. We've done some improvements, but we need a plan. I mean, we started on the plan. Jeff's been really good about it. Someone that's going to say, this is what we want for, you know, tennis courts, bath. I mean, and really just stay the top lots, put new. That would be part of this committee too.
Absolutely. Like
we spent a lot of time talking about those park improvements, and it was fine, but it might not have been the best use of our time. It might have been a good use of a subgroup to come forward and say.
We could be on this though, right?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. It would be like a planning commission.
Because we follow planning commission for that reason, because they're gonna bring a recommendation to the board. Incidentally, I support the operating, support what you're doing. If you go to the planning commission meetings, you understand the whole discussion, how you got where you are. It comes to the board, then there's usually not much discussion, or certainly there's a whole lot less.
Right.
So,
so does anyone, yes, Brian.
Brunch Van Lith, a resident, I don't know if I need to keep saying that.
Every time.
Can I be covered for the night?
You're covered.
So, the planning commission meets in public. It's a public meeting. There's an agenda that's put out. What we just did tonight, it's a public meeting. Anybody can come. Is this committee going to be a public meeting, or is it going to be?
Absolutely.
Okay. That was my question.
Yeah.
That was my question.
For sure.
Yeah, it should have agendas, right? There's a chair.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to have supervisors involved in it if you went public.
Right, and I think whichever township this was really good, Fallowfield, was very good about, you know, how the leadership got appointed and.
Paul's got a question.
Yeah, yes, Paul.
Paul Overton. So 2 comments. I should have mentioned earlier, but when we acquired Franklin, and maybe Joan can correct me, we were required to provide public access, and I think we failed to do that. So you guys are fulfilling a requirement from the past.
Good to know.
Second one is, I might be mistaken, but I thought we already had an ordinance to create an open space committee.
We had one, it just.
No, we have the ordinance. The ordinance hasn't been.
Open space, but not park and rec.
I want to put them together.
Got it.
I'm not sure we need 2 separate ones, it doesn't seem compelling.
I don't think we ever had a Parks and Rec one. We just had an open space one.
I mean, we've spent an inordinate amount of time, not that it's unpleasant, but talking about bridges and the flooring in bathrooms and pickleball and tot lots and things that are very interesting, but I think are better managed.
Yeah, it's good. I just didn't want you to repeat an ordinance, so
Yeah.
maybe you could alter the existing one. Or you'd have to at
Oh,
least
would you
remove
pull
the
that
old
without
one.
Joan, and just,
Sorry,
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
what was the question?
would you pull the old ordinance out and just replace it with this one?
We can look at that, and to be honest,
You need a dedicated ordinance.
to have a park and rec board, then the St. Clair Township Code requires an ordinance, and not necessarily, I don't believe that's necessarily the case for the open space
Gotcha.
board, so we can look at the interplay between the two and of course advise
See how,
you.
right.
But this, as addressed, they would be looking at open space issues and making recommendations on that.
This looks like a great start. I mean, it really looks good to me. And guys, you know, for the bike group, there's no better way to, you know, be involved than to have, you know, a couple of adults
Be on the board.
be on the board. Yeah.
You don't have
It's
to run.
great to have
just sit
different
there.
interests, because you're gonna have different interests. You're gonna have hikers, you're gonna have, you know, whatever, bikers. pickleball players and Okay, so there wasn't an action on this, but I guess the action we'll take is we'll proceed with,
Well, Mark can draft the ordinance.
yeah, the
and then
ordinance.
PC can look
Take
at
it
it.
to the PC, yeah.
Well, I don't even think this would necessarily be a planning commission
No,
okay.
review.
Just go. I mean, it's
not an
pretty
FEC
simple.
ordinance, so we can
Thank you.
draft something, take a look at the current open space, board ordinance, draft something up for the next meeting.
And then maybe we could publish it and ask people who are interested to come forward.
They want to serve on it.
Yeah, how do you get people to serve on things?
We'll get it
You
back
gotta
to us
advertise.
first. Get it back to our next meeting.
Township newsletter.
So Nancy, get it back to us at the next meeting, then we'll come to you after that, because you'll get the board to buy into it.
Okay.
Get out there.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks, everybody. Okay, how about this, Mary, we're on, the board authorized the solicitor. Oh, you didn't get one of those.
This one here. I make a motion that the board authorize the solicitor to advertise ordinance 2020-01 and update to the historic district ordinance for enactment at the next available board of supervisors meeting.
I'll second it.
Dave seconds it. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. I think it's, I'm sure it's fine, but I couldn't figure out what the difference was, because it looked kind of similar to what we already have. So could you guys just point out what words changed?
Well, if you look at the section in the existing ordinance.
So not the new one?
Yes,
the old-
801, it says demolition by neglect.
Right, I got that one.
13 of 14, yeah, that page, the 4 page is the last one. It basically says, under number 1, that you have to keep all buildings reasonably protected against decay. And then it goes on to provide examples of deterioration, which would be, demolition by neglect type of things. But it doesn't say an individual shall not engage in demolishing a building by neglect. If we look at,
Okay, so it says, so what I read, so it says, all buildings and structures within a certified historic district shall be maintained in good repair, structurally sound and reasonably protected, that's what you were quoting, reasonably protected against decay and deterioration. So that seems pretty clear to me,
Which
but
is- yeah.
so I know the judge got us on something, so what did he say that we need to say?
well,
You can't do this? I mean,
the new ordinance would say that all buildings, it does say the same thing,
right.
but it says shall be protected from demolition by neglect. Okay, and I know that's may seem
Fine
like
line,
a
but-
small thing, but when we talk about allowing a building to fall into disrepair, it's a much easier case to prove, because this is a criminal type of violation. To show that the ordinance is absolutely clear and the case, ergo the demolition by
so
neglect.
bizarre, I mean, I'll
I
buy it,
know.
because you're the lawyer, this is reasonably protected against decay and deteration, which is really the same as shall be protected, but you're, I mean, if you're saying.
Well, that's the one
judge
statement.
ruled on that, though.
That's one statement, but it never says anywhere, I mean, we go on to define demolition by neglect, the absence of routine maintenance and repair, which leads to structural weakness.
Right,
It says examples of such deterioration and gives A through F,
right.
but it doesn't say, the magic words, shall be protected from demolition by neglect. Doesn't say that anywhere, and our ordinances in
If you need it, you can have
thousands
it.
of townships probably have little sentences that need to be added here and there. We just think that.
Yeah.
He said.
The judge still found, in the case that we've been talking about, the judge did find the defendant guilty and found for the township, but was concerned and said, you guys should really take a closer look at your ordinance, and that's what we're doing. So.
But Mark, when I read the failure to provide ordinary necessary maintenance, makes it more of a personal, you're failing, and that's where I think it really bites to
That's
me.
the.
That helps too.
Really
Yeah,
what it
versus
comes down
kind of just
to.
like, oh, everything should be taken care of, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah,
Right, rather than saying, oh, well, this house isn't in good repair.
you know?
When
Yeah.
everybody does what they're supposed to, move smoothly,
Yeah.
and have something like this guy, then.
I'd say he's still in violation, so when this is passed, then Jeff can cite him again, because we have this now to back us up.
Sad thing is, it's a beautiful little house that was not doing very well at this point. It was a beautiful little house.
If not, I hope that I provided a little bit.
Well, I
of
mean,
input.
it's that nitpicky, and I
Yeah, no, it
get
is.
it, I get it.
I told you it was.
Because I couldn't find it, I'm looking,
Right.
trying to figure out the difference, but
No,
that's good.
no,
Okay.
and, I mean, listen, you know, candidly, we read through it, and that's the ordinance. Well, that's what we had, so that's what we went under, and we were successful, but, if it's gonna be a continuing problem, and especially if the judge says, hey, you should take a look at it, then that's what we did.
Okay. Paul, you okay? You're good, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with this. One of the peculiarities I'd just like to point out to the board, which those of you who attended, I guess the first year, I can't remember which, whether I went to two or not. One of the peculiarities of the ordinance is that demolition by neglect is in fact permissible in the historic district if you obtain a permit for it. At which no township in its right mind is going to do. If I recall correctly, it's phrased in a peculiar way to the failure to obtain a permit to demolish by neglect.
So you can let your house fall in on itself as long as you get a
As long
permit
as you get a
yourself.
permit for it. If I recall, there was a peculiarity in it which I had never realized until the judge started talking about it. The point is to basically make it a permissible activity in the sense that you're always going to be in violation of getting the proper permits for it in some ways. I'm sure there was, at some point, there was a rationale for doing it that way. One question I have, Joan, I take it that the thing I talked to you about is not the renumbering that I emailed you about is not being handled this time?
No,
Okay. There are some tweaks that need to be made to this, or just.
but there's a lot of tweaks that need to be.
Want to get this
Yeah,
out there.
and there's probably some language clarity that needs to be introduced at some point. We probably need to.
I mean, the tweak is not in this.
Okay, all right, that's good.
No,
Yeah, we're only changing the issues related to it.
No, the thing that we have language that points you to one section where we specifically require applicants for a certificate of appropriateness to produce the necessary documents so that the certificate of appropriateness can be denied. And I think at some point in the development of the ordinance, they pointed to the wrong section. They may have cut out a section and caused the section to be renumbered in the days before they tracked them as efficiently as they do now. And so I believe it should be pointing at the section talking about the written report that's needed. Because to require enough documents to deny an application do not require any documents to approve an application makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, so it's referenced in the wrong section.
So I just put it in the wrong section.
Now we'll mark it, we're gonna do a lot of little tweaks like that. Not just that,
Okay,
okay,
let's
but-
vote.
All right. How did this thing become a criminal violation?
St. Louis Township prescribes that if it's a health, safety, and welfare related to the maintenance of property, that
That's
it's
security.
a criminal. I mean, it's the summary offense, it's the lowest level of offense, but it's punishable up to $1,000 a day and, potential time in jail.
All right.
Okay, all right. So, let's vote on the motion. Anybody, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Yeah.
I think we only find people, I don't think we send them to jail.
Yes.
Well, the judge could, and he may, and we keep going back up there with the same person.
But I don't know that our ordinance allows for that. I mean, that would be the
That's
judge's
a judge's.
decision, so you amend the ordinance?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on, Hesmo Bridge discussion.
I'm going to try to keep this fairly short. The reason for reviewing this is the two new
Today.
supervisors. I think all of us know most of these bits of this, about this bridge, but David and Mary don't. So I'm going to quickly go through kind of a bullet list thing, just so you've got an overview of it. In the book, you've got reports in there, so you can see some of the stuff. So, very quickly, Franklin Township has three structures that are classified as bridges. One is Twin Bridges, which is a new neighborhood up in the northeast section. It's an exit and entry bridge It's a new neighborhood, there are no known deficiencies, but it is our bridge and we're responsible for it. There's another little bridge you probably didn't notice, it's Walker Road Bridge down there by Mount Olivet. That's actually classified as a bridge. It's very old, looks bad, but there are no known deficiencies. The third one is the one in question, is the Hess Mill Road Bridge. It's just west of the Guernsey Road intersection. It has some serious structural deficiencies. It's rated poor, the number 4 condition for the past 9 years. And we'll get into that in a bit. PennDOT inspects and rates this bridge annually in January and provides a detailed written report to the township. And PennDOT funds this. We don't pay for this. They fund the inspection and the report. And over the years, these annual reports make recommendations for various improvements. Townships has implemented some of these recommendations, but not all. Some of the structural improvements are impractical and costly to perform. You have to almost replace the bridge to fix what they're proposing. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. So I want to just quickly review the bridge at the beginning of the last report, which is 2019-18. We don't have a 19 report for some reason. The bridge was built in 1974. The structural type is wood. It's nail laminated timber. So the basic structure of the bridge is wood. The span is 25.5 feet. I guess that they're the key points. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, but I don't want to dwell on it. So when you look at their inspection reports, you can see they rate the slab, the approach roadway, the deck and wearing surface, which is the asphalt cover, and then you get into the deck and the superstructure, which are the basic structure of the bridge. The bridge consists of a series of 3-inch by 12-inch beams, all nailed together, so essentially it forms a mat you go across. So they are nailed and screwed together. That's why you can't really replace one by itself, and it's covered with about a 3 or 4-inch asphalt cover. So when you look at the report, you can see they have pictures on there of all the failed timber. So the primary structure and failed components are broken beams, splits, checks, rotten wood, and vertical displacement of some of the beams. And when I say rotten wood, they use a sharp tool called an awl, and they're able to penetrate the wood some significant distance, which says it is the rotten section. Just another point is that no bridge qualified engineer will provide a specific information about the timeliness of the failures. When the bridge should be replaced, they will speculate, but not specifically certified. Nobody's going to put their PE stamp on something that says this bridge is going to last so long. So it's like many things we encounter, there's no predetermined method to determine when repair or replacement is necessary. Therefore, it's incumbent on the owner to make a timely decision. That's Franklin Township.
And so in late 2018, I think we talked about replacing it, and really 2 really important documents are the engineer's cost opinion and then the recommendations. So it was going to be 400 and some grand, right?
No, it's actually not. It's actually 307. That's a mistake, the way.
Okay.
The total is 371.
Okay.
But of the
And then
375,
75
75,000 is what is ours.
Yeah, so what we did is we've started asking for a grant, and we didn't get it last year, with the idea that we'd much rather spend 75,000 than 371,000. But we're hoping to get it this year. Thanks to Sue Walker, she's been doing her best to try to help. I know Jeff and Joan have been doing their best. And so that's our goal. And then, so John may want to talk more about, well, do we wait for that, or do we do some short-term stuff? Okay, well, we'll just watch the time.
So this is state.
Sure. The township had planned to replace the bridge in 2019 using its own available resources. That was the plan. But early in 19, Chester County Conservation District performed an inspection of the bridge to assess various environmental aspects of the bridge. In particular, they noted that the existing span of 25 feet was restricted to the flow of the stream as the water passed through the bridge channel. They recommended that the bridge channel be increased by making the replacement bridge 32 feet wide, which would need another 7 feet. They also indicated that Chester County Conservation District would provide a significant grant if the township agreed to the wider span, so we would do that. Unfortunately, grant funds were not available in 2019. They indicated they'd be available in 2020 this year. So we haven't heard from them yet. Today, we have no indication from them. So what are the compelling reasons to replace the bridge? The fundamental wooden bridge is in poor condition for 9 years, and an imminent loss of service could occur at any time. The bridge is also, the other factor is the bridge is a primary detour route for PennDOT's Route 896 corridor improvements. That's how you come around 841. So how could this bridge fail? I'm going to speculate. The bridge will most likely not fail in any catastrophic manner, collapsing into the stream. That's a stream that won't happen. It's more likely we'll just lose load rating and serviceability, meaning we'll get bridge derated.
It's already gone down twice.
It's been, but so over the years, the township's monitored the bridge with traffic cameras, with the intent of counting traffic, and as additional bit of information from the cameras, it observed that many overweight trucks use the bridge illegally. So we got a lot of extra weight on that bridge. So I think that the way this thing could possibly fail is a significant number of the deck beams have completely failed. And possibly a localized failure could occur, indicating like a subsidence in the deck. That depression would quickly be expanded and deepened by the dynamic impact of the traffic. So that's probably how this thing would fail. We should probably have a couple of beams fail, and you get a depression. At that point, the bridge would be unserviceable. I don't know whether that's the way it would happen, but it's likely. The bridge design's complete. Permits have been obtained. We have all the permits. Is that right, Joe?
I understand,
We
yes.
have all the permits. So the new bridge would be a precast factory manufactured structure delivered to the site and set in place by the bridge manufacturer. This is an enormous piece of concrete. It will be transported to the site. The bridge would have no weight limit, so the bridge could accommodate any current licensed vehicle in PA. There's no weight limit on the bridge. Currently, the current weight limit is 17 tons for singles and 34 tons for combinations. So just to kind of put that number in reference, a typical triaxle dump truck that we use here to move gravel around weighs 76 tons. So obviously we can't drive that truck over that bridge. So it's a lightweight bridge. Finance, probably not going to say a whole lot about it, other than the estimated cost is $372,000. And of that, $75,000 is funds that we would have to provide. So the project, the project funding breakdown is unclear at this moment. We really don't know what the funding situation, what the grant structure is going to be. The project will likely be funded by a combination of grants, budget capital, and short-term loans from the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Bank. You can get loans from this bank for up to 5 years for the infrastructure project, so that's an option here. So hopefully we get some grant money, but I don't think we have a whole lot of time with this bridge.
Okay, so Joan, when do we find out about the grants? Let's just talk
To
through.
make the decisions. Many people call and see if they, where
They
they
have a
are.
certain
with that.
time of year where they tell you what you're getting?
Well, it's usually the first part of the year.
Okay,
You know, they had to wait till they see how much money they have,
right.
and then they'll see what projects they have to deal with, and then they'll see how they want to distribute it.
So they were very keen to do this project.
Okay.
This is not something that they're arrested on. They'd like to do it.
So my recommendation is that we wait until we hear from them. It's not too long of a time, and I certainly don't want to spend $371,000 of our taxpayer money until I think we have to, because that's a lot of money for us. So that would be step one. If we don't get the grant this year, then I think we have to talk about some of these short-term payers. which is kind of throwing good money after bad, I guess, but
The issue is that the basic structure
yes.
is what's
I
failed,
know.
and it's impractical
Yeah.
to remove the deck, the asphalt deck, and then cut a beam out in the middle of it, because they're all screwed together, so. That's what,
Who
that's
made
the,
this recommendation?
the bridge people did, but they put a cost estimate in here, it's impossible to do a job for this stuff.
So I guess
Yes.
Right?
Can you clarify what you meant by we shouldn't spend money until we absolutely need it, because that's after the bridge falls down?
I don't want to spend $371,000 if a month later the state says, you got your grant, you know? And
So-
and now you don't need, no, you don't need it, great, we'll look it elsewhere.
We're likely to get this
You know, we're
grant.
getting close, so I wouldn't want to jump the gun and then find out that we spent money.
So would we get,
We're only spending 75,000 at the state.
That's if we get the grant. That's if we
only if
get
we
the
get the
grant.
grant?
Okay, I thought we were getting 75 for the grant.
No, we're getting like
So-
we're getting 300,000 for the
Okay.
grant. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if we decide, you know, I don't, the bridge needs to be replaced, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Right.
If we do the project and we pay the money, we get the loan, and then the grant money comes in, so we don't get the grant
I
money.
don't think we don't.
We may not.
So we pay for it,
We've got to wait for the grant and see what they say.
yeah.
Even if we know
so-
we're getting a grant, we may have to pay for it up front, and then they.
Yeah, that's
reimburse
okay.
As long as,
us.
Which
that's
is fine,
fine.
yeah, that's fine.
So we just, so really, we're not making the decision, we're just
No,
getting.
no, no,
information. So
I
we're
don't
just-
want to get
we're-
too involved in the finance.
Yeah, yeah, so we're, I'm just trying to understand, so we're just kind of kicking the can down the road until we find out about this grant money.
I think so.
And then if we wait another, to Brent, boy, how long do we wait for the grant money before this bridge falls in?
I think we try to get it this year, if we don't get it
If
this
we
year.
don't get it this year, we
Yeah,
have
we
to
have
do
to
it.
do it.
There will be, even if you get the grant money, we still have some cash flow issues we need to work out, because they don't give you the grant money until after the project's done, so we need to come up with a fair amount of cash. Now, we've got, how much in our reserve right now?
566.
I think it was, I thought it was 94 on the list.
We have money in a
Yeah,
reserve
we
fund
do.
specifically for this purpose here, so.
184.
Well, I have to, you have to add 45.
Yeah, 45,000, so we got.
Oh, no, wait, that is the 45.
That is
That's
the
already
184. So we have almost 200, and it is a capital project, which we were talking about that, so
So
capital projects.
you could use that, and then you could take a one-year loan for just a portion of it. And then when you get the grant money back, then you
Yeah.
put the reserve back in and pay your loan off.
The interest rate from the bank is like 2.25
It's low, yeah, it's
or something like
it's
that.
low, it's a low rate.
The other thing to keep in mind is this isn't I mean, obviously we want this bridge to be working, but no one is going to be horrendously inconvenienced if it goes out. And it's
Well,
gonna be out anyhow.
When they do the 896 improvement, then they want that as a.
That's a whole different thing, but that's
Yeah,
years
but I don't
ago.
want a bridge go down the road.
We've seen these things happened up there in Avondale, and how long it took them to get that bridge fixed. So if you.
Well, it's gonna be out, and people are gonna survive when it's out.
Yeah,
So
well,
what are
Let me just
our
tell you, a
options?
well-planned project on this thing is a 4 to 6 week job. From the time.
4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
could just drop it.
Because it's
right?
Because it's,
Wow, that's
it's a
great.
Yeah, just
factory-built
drop it in.
bridge, but if you let it fail on you, then it could go out to 6 months, because then you gotta order material, you gotta get the bridge ordered, they gotta build this thing for
But
you.
we don't have a choice anyway, we're waiting for the grant.
Right, I think we just get
Yes,
the grant.
absolutely.
And if we don't get the grant, then we have to, we gotta find the hole in that second half of the year.
Yeah, that's my
David, for
thinking.
you and Mary, I just wanted to make sure. that you
No, I
guys-
appreciate it.
We've had it all pieces over the years here,
Yeah.
so.
Right now, it's just a waiting game,
Okay.
but I understand that.
And you look at the,
I have another fun topic.
there's one other thing about this bridge.
So what's next?
Refugee.
Oh, right, so I guess there's no motion here.
No, there's no motion on
No,
either.
no motion here, it's just information to you. The grading, it's in the book here, the ratings structure.
Yeah.
Number 4 is a poor rating, it's been rated poor for 9 years. So the next step is 3, that's an unserviceable bridge. So
We're
like
close, we're
We're one
skirting.
step away from
Screw the
some
action.
minor failure will get us into that trouble, so.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, John. It's
All right.
good to have all the, to know what's going on. All right, so the last official topic is the refugee discussion. It's not text, so just to, thanks, Dave. It's not something that we need to make a decision on, and it's actually being held up in the courts right now. But the basic underlying situation is that the current administration has asked every state and county to make a decision on whether they would welcome legal refugees into their state. Last year, across the United States, 30,000 refugees were accepted. This year, it's down to 18,000. Just the few facts I found is that PA is not a popular state for these legal refugees. It doesn't make the top 10.
Because they don't want to come here, or because
Maybe they don't have
They don't have family, they don't have
Okay, so that's, so is that their choice?
Yeah, it's their choice,
Okay.
yeah. So, again, I don't know that we should, I don't think we can or should vote on this. It's not appropriate since it's held up in the courts, but it's a topic to just be aware of that many communities are wrestling with, whether to permit refugee resettlement in the community. And eventually, if it does get cleared, then this township will have to decide how it stands on that topic.
So Nancy, the one thing that I don't know, and thank you for finding out that these are documents,
They're legal,
the people
yeah.
that the government's saying, yes.
They have all their paperwork.
Yeah, we want you to
All
come
the
in.
paperwork, and
But
they're,
what do we need to do as a community? What's our responsibility? That's what, I don't know if you know that answer.
I think if we don't respond to this, then what's gonna happen is,
Oh, no,
it's gonna make the agencies that help these legal refugees spend money on things, paperwork and everything else, where they could spend that money on the refugees.
No, that's not my question. So my question is,
Okay.
what is,
If
so
they
say we
move-
say
someone
yes,
moved
we'll,
here.
yeah, say we, yes, we'll take 5,000, or what, that's a wrong number. But
probably
you know what I'm
not
saying.
two, but okay.
Yeah, but what's our responsibility? That's what like,
Well, I don't think we have to say like, yes, we want 50 refugees. I think what we have to say is, yes, we want the state to continue doing what they've been doing through the organizations they work through, to allow these refugees to come into the community and get resettled and get housing and job. And I think we ought to push that ball right back out of our court. I don't think it's our responsibility. I don't think Chester County should have put this on us, or on any of them. Like, it's way out of our wheelhouse.
yeah, but see, I disagree. So I think it's actually good because it makes us think about it. Because at the bottom, and I'm not saying yes or no,
Right,
but it is gonna cost money for education, because that's part, we're okay for that. And I just need to know, is there anything else? Are we paying for housing? Are we paying for food? Are we paying for
No,
job
it's really
training?
through the state, and then all the agencies under the state. And now they're pushing it to, they pushed it to the counties, and the counties said, oh, we're pushing it to the individual municipalities. And I'm thinking, this is like, it's gone too far.
I think Donna's question is, does our township have to spend money?
What's our
if we
financial
get-
responsibility? That's what I would like to understand.
I do think the schools would have a.
Right, well, so that's a practice.
Because we have to have multilingual,
Right, we have to be able to
right.
support them.
So I think the schools do, and Mark, you might know more.
Honestly, concerning the logistics of how the state deals or the federal government deals with refugees, I'm not entirely certain.
But what do we have to pay for? Like, so.
Well, I mean, the way that the issue is framed by the county to each township, to all the townships in Chester County, and the way that the program had worked was, if you didn't, that they settled refugees throughout the country, and unless a community said, we don't want to have refugees here, then the federal government would do it. Now they've kind of flipped the script and said, we're not gonna place refugees unless you tell us you want to have
We're not gonna
refugees
force
in your
them upon
community.
you, but
Chester County said, and they determined that the subdivision was the county level.
right.
Chester County, the language they use is that they weren't going to allow refugees to be resettled in Chester County in any township unless you affirmatively say assent is the word they use
Right.
to allow.
You're still not
for
telling me
that
what I have
happen.
to do. So no one's telling me, okay, so I say yes, what does that mean to us?
That just means that Franklin Township in Chester County is available for, and it probably has been the case, and no one even knew it, for the potential of resettlement of refugees. I mean, this isn't a new program, it's been going on for
So
I
it's
guess
not-
I don't know what
Yes.
that means.
Westchester-
Does that mean that they go buy a house in Franklin
Well, wait,
Township, or?
I don't, yeah, I'm not an expert on the,
Yeah, it's
on
very
how.
confusing, I mean,
Yeah.
Westchester, we have a sample of Westchester's ordinance that they passed already. And it said, what it says here is the borough has an interest in supporting families and religious institutions who would like to facilitate the arrival and integration of refugees into the borough community. I mean, so that's,
so supporting means what? Supporting, like, I'm gonna give them money, or I'm gonna just say, yay, go get them? Like, I'm just trying to understand.
I don't think we know, but I think we can find out.
But I think, Donna, it's
so-
more working through the organizations that work with these refugees, like, it wouldn't be us, it'd be like, all right, the state of Pennsylvania will let them come in, and organization A will do what they've always been doing for these refugees, and it's usually, they wanna be in a community of the same people, the
So,
same.
but is Pennsylvania tax dollars going for that? That's what I'm trying to
Well,
understand.
We don't
yeah,
have any
the states control most of it, but I think
Yeah.
if we don't say it's okay, like, pretty much to carry on the way we've been carrying on for years and years and years, the organizations that are helping, the state and the organizations that are helping these refugees will end up spending money on filing paperwork and things that the money should go to the refugees, and we need to back out of it, I
So
think.
if we say no,
We're not gonna say anything.
well, I know we're not saying anything, right, but if we, I'm just trying to understand what we're.
If we say no, then they can't come here, but they could maybe,
So where does
you know,
it
file
go?
with the court to petition it, but that's
Okay.
a lot of money.
So
It's
just
very
Joe,
confusing.
would you do us a favor and just find out?
I will, but let me just put this out there.
Okay.
One of the other managers has had filed a whole list of questions.
Okay,
And
perfect.
he was told we don't have any of those answers. And there's some of the questions that you
Yeah, so how
have.
can we, yeah, so.
I mean, so
yeah,
they don't
so-
have the answers for you
It's
yet.
very divisive, it really is, but, okay, so
Well, it's
there's
just
no
not fair
answers.
to ask someone to make a decision on
Silly.
something without having information. Okay, so we know that we have the information and we're not.
Yeah, when we
I'm
get
not
the
gonna-
information, I will pass it on.
Okay, all right, so hopefully that'll be the last time we discuss, what we'll see. Public comment? Yes,
And who are you?
I will say that I do find it a little unsettling to hear someone say that it's okay to let a bridge fall down. That's the last.
it's not okay to let a bridge fall down.
We're not gonna let that.
We're not going to let that happen.
It's not gonna fall down, it's just gonna become uncertain.
And we talked about our plan, so just to reiterate, our plan is to seek funding for a grant. If that grant money doesn't come through, we have a huge bill that we're gonna have to come up with. I do not wanna spend township money until we find out if we're getting that grant. So just clearly for on the record.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
I have a comment.
Yes,
My name is Roger Wilson. I'm a member, resident of this township. On this last discussion of the refugee subject, it just sounds like we're getting the cart before the horse. If a developer came in here and wanted to build something or put something in here or whatever, you would require certain things to be done, and that plan would come before the planning commission and the board of supervisors, and a decision would be made, and that kind of thing. But for the county to say, what is your position on this? We don't know much, sounds like.
We don't know anything, yeah.
And, you know, do they want to build buildings, do they want to send certain types of people in here? Okay, what's the educational level, and so on and so forth. So, I guess if I'm hearing that you're saying that you're not gonna say anything at this point, and, it sounds like they need to say something, whoever's driving this.
But the good news is we don't have to because it's in the courts, so it's not like we're putting
At least
ourselves in
for now.
jeopardy.
Yeah.
But if it does come out of courts, then we'll need to make a decision. We'll have to make the best decision we can based on the information. And that's when we'll need we'll need you back here again, for public input, because I think this is your community.
Well, and Donna too, they're talking 18,000 people across the United States.
right.
That's,
It's-
I mean, I think if Pennsylvania got two, that would be a lot. There's a lot of them in California, because that's where
Texas.
their ethnic group is, and their churches, and their support system.
We have-
Yeah, that's not a lot of people.
Yes.
Well, I mean, just the same, you said it was 30 the year before, so if there's a
It was
12,000
30 before,
point
yeah.
fluctuation rate, then it could be, it was 30 1 year ago, it could be 52 next year, or 42, so.
It did
Well,
used
that-
to be,
that's-
I think at one year it was like 79,000.
Yeah.
This is kind of a
Yes.
policy change, yes.
Exactly, but it needs to be a principal, not a number, so we can't say, well, it's
Yes.
only 18, because it could be 79 next year, so.
Yeah, but they are approved people that come into the country. This is
Oh, I know
not
that.
people that are just saying, I went in and here's why.
Exactly,
Everything's in
it's just
order.
not about numbers.
And it's difficult to get that. I mean, I know they wait sometimes 10 years to get their paperwork, so I don't think we're gonna have this massive change in numbers.
Well,
It's just a very difficult process.
but I'm a senior political science student up at Westchester, and we
Okay.
look at trends and statistics all the time, and immigration is just rather unpredictable,
Yeah.
and refugee.
I just think
are part
they're,
of that figure, so.
yeah, and I just think they've given us a decision that shouldn't be on our table. Like they pushed something down to this level that,
See, I want the decision, I just want more information with it.
I agree, yeah.
I think it's good for us to be asked, what do you want, because it's the community that's affected. But as you were saying, you need the data that goes along with it, so what does this mean? And that's right, so I don't mind the decision, as long as someone gives me some information along with it.
What this is reminding me of is when the Affordable Care Act was pushed through Congress, and they said you have to sign it before you read it.
right, yeah.
And then
You
you
gotta
start.
read it before you sign it, anybody who's ever dealt with any kind of contract knows that.
Right.
Well, too, you have to do this and we're not gonna give you any direction nor any money. So that's, that's the wrong way to do things.
Well, it sounds like we need more.
Well, it's in the court, so we can.
Yeah, but if it should come back, we will have it on the agenda, and I hope you guys will come back. I hope it'll be.
Especially if you have answers.
I
You're a
wish I
political
had
science
that.
person.
We have answers. If you wanna move here, you're welcome. But you gotta buy a house, or you gotta rent a house, or you gotta become self-sufficient. There's nobody like here that, we aren't running a poverty center here, or we aren't running a jet. And, so it seems like we need to know what's this all about.
Go ahead.
Yes. One more note on that is the family reunification program. If you look into that, if one person comes, their entire extended family then can come from who knows where. So you need to look at that, you need to look at what's happened in Amarillo, Texas, and you need to look at our already burdened schools and roads, and we have a main police presence down here too. So all those things, whether there is an on the books dollar amount, there's always a dollar amount to be paid.
It's definitely a tough topic.
And this is an area that's interesting where and this is what we love, Nancy, it's like the rural nature, there's not really a whole lot of, I don't know, it's rural. There's a lot of, it's not like it's a place you can, so we'll have to think about all that. But you'll bring up some good points.
Yeah, thank you for coming and expressing your opinions.
I'd just like to say something. My wife's mother was a refugee in China during World War II and had to flee the Japanese and didn't really have any place to go and had to survive as best she could and took care of several younger cousins who were at least as eternally as a human being can be, grateful for the care she gave them. She was lucky enough not to become a refugee a second time because her husband was already working in New York and she was able to come before China fell to the communists. And I think that if we begin closing avenues for refugees, especially when they've been cleared through a fairly extensive process, that we are either going to concentrate the burden in those few localities that remain accepting, or we're going to find ourselves with problems I would rather not see happen.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, I'm the granddaughter of somebody who came through Ellis Island to survive the Holocaust, or to escape the Holocaust.
And I'm first generation, too. My parents were not born in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's,
yeah, it's something.
so it's gonna be tough, for sure. Yeah. And, some of these refugees, their lives are not only worth nothing, but they have real horrors. I actually read 79% of them are actually Christian who come. It's interesting, some of our perceptions of who refugees are and what they are. It turns things on.
My mother-in-law, while she was alive, was a practicing heathen. She was a good member of the New York City community.
We love heathens too.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. We will adjourn the meeting at 8:50 p.m.